Hello, and welcome to this special FCTV program, Reinventing the Royal. I'm Eileen Preston, and this program is, to no small extent, about the housing crisis in Falmouth. Pointing out the problem has almost become boilerplate. It impacts everyone, the salaried employees of basic institutions like hospitals and fire departments, the short-term workers who fuel the Cape's summer boom economy, and the postgraduate students who support our world-class science institutions. Complaints are common. Solutions, less so. Local developer Michael Galasso has one in mind. He hopes to completely reinvent the Royal nursing home at 545 Main Street. The Royal once housed generations of Falmouth's aging population, but now sits empty. After years of discussion with town officials and neighbors of the property, the zoning board recently gave the green light that allows the project to begin in earnest. Michael Galasso has also taken first steps towards getting the property designated as historic. He says that will help secure funding to help him reshape the property into the energy-efficient, forward-thinking workforce housing community he envisions. For the next half hour, I'll be bringing you a walkthrough of the empty nursing home and a conversation with Michael Galasso. What he's putting on the table is more than just a rebuild. It may just be a rethink of how people live, work, and move around in Falmouth. The story begins with another locally famous property just steps down Main Street from the Royal Nursing Home, Betsy's Diner. It used to be called the Falmouth Diner, and it was owned by Michael Galasso's aunt, Tilly.
She would, whenever anyone, this is before we had a service center in town, so whenever anyone would come to the church looking for help to eat, they would send them over to my aunt. So my aunt took care of a lot of people, and she never refused service to anyone. And if you didn't have money, she'd just put you to work in the back washing dishes. So that started the helping people out in my sort of career and stuff. So take that to what I do now, which is provide housing for people that desperately need it, especially working people, is really how I started. And the very first project I did with my partner in San Diego, because I went to graduate school out in San Diego, that's how I got out there, was that we built a little SRO building. We built 50 rooms on 5,000 square feet. Talk about density. But the city of San Diego had started a new program because as the downtown area, and it wasn't just in San Diego, but in a lot of places, started to be redeveloped. A lot of the old residential hotels were being torn down.
That's right, yeah.
And they realized that that started to create a lot of homelessness because people could no longer afford to live where they wanted to live. So we were able to build 50 rooms on a 4-story building in the Little Italy neighborhood. Oh. And it was intended for the people who worked in the bakery, the people who worked in the pizzeria, the people who worked in the restaurants, the fishermen, and we still have people that live there that moved in when we first opened it up in 1986. So it became their home. And so we copied that and did that in a number of occasions, both in San Diego and up in Sacramento too.
Okay.
So that was how we got into providing affordable housing, and that's all I've done in my career. Not only SROs, but also apartments and other things too, but primarily single-room occupancy hotels.
So this place, when you first drove by this and said, I think I can do something with that, what happened?
Well, always looking for opportunities, and one of the issues that was occurring here was that the current owner, who owns a number of nursing homes, was having a very hard time staffing it. And there are certain requirements for staffing that you have to meet. And so Kevin Murphy was nice enough to introduce me to the owner, and we started talking, and he said, if I'm going to sell it to anyone, I'm going to sell it to someone who can help me solve my problem, which is I need housing that my staff can afford. So that was one of the reasons why we've been able to acquire this property, was that we're meeting a need for a local businessman who had a big need and had a property that he no longer really needed or could service. So that was the start of the discussion, a little bit over almost 4 years ago now, when we first started. And again, I'm very fortunate that we have a current owner that we have a purchase agreement with that was willing to wait until we got the permits that we needed before we would close and actually purchase the property.
You just got the ZBA's permit.
Correct.
Multi-use building here. And Historical Commission sent a letter of support, I think?
Yes, so we wanted to get the building designated historic. We think it has a lot of historic connection to our town and nationally too. So we have to go through a process that you fill out an application, you submit it to the National Park Service. That's who determines whether buildings meet the qualifications to be designated. And with the letter that our local historic committee wrote to the National Park Service really helped us get that approval as the first step in having it designated. So there's 3 steps. That's the number 1, is that it looks like the history of the building will qualify for it to be designated.
1967, am I right?
1969 is when the first part, the round part, which we're standing in, was built and designed. It was designed by the same gentleman who designed the hotel, which is right next door, called the Maritime Hotel. So that gentleman owned the Maritime Hotel. He was the architect of Maritime Hotel. He was also the architect of East Falmouth Elementary School, and he was also the architect of where I have my office, which is 44 Scranton Ave. And if you look at those buildings, you can see they have a very modern look to them. And so that's where this sort of modern style of this building, because it's a very unique building. And so we wanted to preserve it, and for preserving it, it qualifies the building for what's known as historic tax credits. And we use those tax credits and we sell them to banks who buy them, and that helps provide some of the equity that's needed and some of the dollars that are needed to renovate the building.
So the plan is to renovate this building so that you'll have how many units and how you divide them? Can you talk about that?
So yes, there'll be a total of 67 units here. Of them, 30 of them are what we call Mr. Cod units. Those are the studios and 1-bedrooms. Those will all be leased. They're all fully furnished. They'll all be leased with an annual 1-year lease on them. The other 37 units that we have are what we call the micro units, SRO units. They're a little bit smaller than a studio, fully furnished with little kitchenettes.
Kitchenette, no bathroom.
We are working on looking at trying to add full bathrooms to every one of those units. The issue is having the building designated historic. Sometimes they designate things that are inside, not only things that are outside. And if that's the case, it may limit us what we can do with the corridors that go around the building. So, but we have an architectural team that's looking at that right now. So our hope would be that we're able to add, full bathrooms to each one of those SRO rooms too.
It must be easy to make it energy efficient when you're starting from scratch.
This
is going to be kind of expensive, so that's where the historical credits sort of help, right?
All those things help. This is about somewhere between a $16 and $17 million project.
Okay.
But when you look at what the cost is on a per room basis or per unit basis, it's below $300,000. If we were to build a new affordable housing unit today, maybe it's a 2-bedroom, would be close to $500,000. So the economics work out well, but it still requires a lot of subsidy. Because this is a facility that will run very much like a hotel. We'll have a staff here 24 hours a day, a front desk, so there's a little bit more cost. We pay for all the utilities, so there's more cost associated with operating this type of facility than there is an 18 or 10 unit apartment building.
And we are standing in the cafe, or what will be the cafe.
This was the dining room. This was the original dining room for the residents who lived here over the years. And one thing that we're really trying to do is that a lot of folks in town had someone in their family that might have been here as a patient over the years and stuff, maybe towards the end of their life. And we really want to change that image of what the property is. We want to respect the history of it, and how long it's been here, and that's why we have it designated historic. But we really want this to become a fun, enjoyable place to live, because the folks, we're renovating this building really for the folks who work hard in our community and maybe don't have the type of place they'd like to have to live and everything. They work hard every day. Maybe they have 2 jobs, maybe they have 3 jobs. In the summer, maybe it's the folks who come in from throughout the country, throughout the world, that come here and work in our community. They're very important to the economics of our community.
J1 workers, for example,
J1 workers, right? Other folks that come here. Before we had J1 workers, we had people who would come from many of the universities in the South, Maryland, North Carolina, and they'd come here and they'd work and they'd live up in the Heights. And back in those days up in the Heights, we had a number of rooming homes up there. Over the years, they've been demolished or they've been converted into condominiums, so we don't have that type of housing that we used to have for those folks. So we needed to provide housing, seasonal housing, for people who come here and help fill our work need that we have. And a lot of those folks, so part of this started when I started to hear from many of the young ladies who come here and work in some of our restaurants. And they were living 5, 6, 7 to a single motel room in town. That's no way to treat people who are important to our economy. So this is sort of started from that.
So, once Michael Galasso shared his overall vision for the Royal, it was time to get down to brass tacks and have a look around. The Royal's cylindrical brick structure is instantly recognizable to anyone who's lived in Falmouth for a while. The redevelopment plans will not change that exterior, but there may be some attempts to reshape the interior, especially the central portion of that cylinder, where nursing stations were once positioned to serve the needs of elderly residents. Here now is the second part of our conversation.
We're trying to get to as close to what they call net zero with this project as possible. Not sure we'll totally get there, but that's our goal. Net zero meaning that we produce enough energy with solar panels on the roof
to sustain yourself.
To sustain the building. That's our goal. That's our goal. So we are taking out all the existing mechanical systems that are in this building that are fueled by natural gas. All that is coming out. We're taking out all the plumbing, we're taking out all the vents, we're taking out the whole air conditioning system, and we're putting in all new 100% electric.
And then the wastewater flow. This is on a sewer, which this street is on a sewer, so this, you don't have to build a new septic tank or waste treatment center, it's here.
Yeah. Well, so the first thing that we used to do when we were going to do a development anywhere is we'd go to the planning office and talk about what we want to do. Now your first place to go is the wastewater. What are we going to do with the wastewater?
Right, yeah.
So the first place I went is I talked to our wastewater supervisor, and she did a very nice calculation for us, told her what we wanted to do, and she calculated based upon what was being used for it as a nursing home to what we're going to be using it for as apartments, and determined that it was much less than what was currently being used. I asked her if, well, since we're saving, could we then take that savings and use it at another affordable housing project? She says it doesn't quite work that way.
But nice try.
But yes, I thought
it's 55% versus what the nursing home, I can't remember how many beds they used to have.
121.
121. So you're going to have 55% less water flow, I think, right?
Less sewer going into the treatment plant and everything. So it opens up some capacity in the system.
Yeah, and we need that. Yeah, we're worried about our water quality in this town, for sure.
Yeah, very much so. This is the front door, the front desk. So everyone coming and going has to come in this way. Okay. This is for security purposes. And so once you get in here, there'll be a front desk, which will be manned 24 hours a day. There'll be our office, our management office will be right here. It's all right up front. Of course, the cafe is over here to the right too. So it's much more visible than these walls that you see here. But you will not be able to get beyond those double doors, which then lead you to the apartments.
Private residences, right, yeah.
Without going through, and now we use a fingerprint that opens the doors and stuff.
So people from the neighborhood can come in here, have some coffee,
talk to our front desk manager,
buy a sandwich,
go to the cafe, have a cup of coffee.
And there's something to be said about community that's sort of being built. You're bringing the neighborhood in a way, right?
Very much so.
And then in some ways, it's nice to think about the people. I mean, I'm sure there are people who think, well, they're just all by themselves in one room. But community is actually built because they have a living room area, do they not? That they can all...
They have this, they have a full community kitchen that they can use too. Yeah. So, you can't cook a turkey in your microwave oven. But if you want to have your friends over and have Thanksgiving dinner, towards the back of the building, we'll show you where our community kitchen is going to go for people to use. And it'll be a full commercial grade community kitchen and dining area and stuff for them back there. Yeah.
So, Michael, we're hearing right now the fire alarm, is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This building has remained operational ever since it's been empty. So the current owner takes very good care of the grounds outside. You can see the lawn's mowed, and inside too. So everything is still operational. The lights work, and the alarm works too, which is a safety thing because the building is empty, and so we want to make sure if anything happens that alarm goes off. So the history behind this building and why this has this round sort of nurses station is that this was built right after Medicaid came into existence back in the early 60s from Johnson. And because of that, a lot of things needed to change. Nursing homes before that were just basically a place where you go and you sit in a rocking chair. Not always did they have nurses there to take care of you. Yes, yes. And so when Johnson passed the civil rights legislation and Medicaid came into existence, people could then afford to go and stay in hospitals because they were paid through Medicaid. And the hospital, even here, Falmouth Hospital, which I worked in for a little while, cleaning elevators, only had a capacity of about 100. It only had one floor at that time before they added on the other floors. And they became overwhelmed. And so this was built in order to meet that demand, to put people that didn't need to have that full care, but needed some care, into facilities like this.
And this round sort of...
The historic part of this building is really built upon that legislation that happened and the need for these type of facilities. Okay. And so it being round was how close they could get and stay to the patients.
I see.
They wanted to be as close as possible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the rooms will all be sort of facing the windows, right?
Yeah, well, the nice thing about this building is that the rooms do have very nice, windows in each one of them, so you get a lot of natural light.
Yeah.
But as I was talking about, the ability to add, now some of these rooms have half baths. You can see there's one in this room here. And the ability for us to add full baths is going to be, can we fit them into the rooms and still make the rooms very livable too? And whether or not we can, because if we take out this centerpiece here where I had the nurses station, can we extend this wall out further and make the rooms a little bit larger and then accommodate the bathroom? So that is something that our architects are looking at and to determine whether or not, and then we have to check with the historic folks too to make sure that that's okay.
And how big is this room?
It's about 300 square feet.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, you got
and
two
sort
nice,
of an average
nice
bedroom
windows.
Size in a home, right? And
a little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger, yeah.
Many bedrooms in old Cape Cod homes are 10 by 10.
Yeah.
So this is double that size. So this was a double room. I mean, they had 2 beds in here when this was operated.
That's right,
So yeah, being able to get, a nice sized bed in here, a little desk, the kitchenette, closet, and a bathroom.
Yeah, like a college dorm, they can get pretty fancy, right?
They can these days. Not when I was going to college.
I know, yeah,
but
me
they
too.
They can these days. So originally we looked at turning this centerpiece into shared bathrooms. That's still a possibility. When I say shared bathrooms, it's an individual bathrooms, but there's a series of them.
So this inner circle, do you know the dimensions of it? Because it's quite deep, isn't it?
It's a good size. It's probably about 30 by 40 or so.
Yeah.
We're able to fit, I think, 3 or 4 good size shared bathrooms. There is a hotel in Boston, in the south end of Boston, called the Revolution Hotel.
I know it, yeah.
It was an old YWCA that was converted into a very nice hotel. They have shared bathrooms down the hall too. If you're staying in Boston, it's probably the most economic place to stay. The room rates are very reasonable, but most of the rooms you have to share a bathroom down the hall.
And on the Cape, are there other examples of this style, or are you the first building on the Cape?
Well, there's always been hostels, that have been around stuff. There's one here on the Cape. There's also one over the Vineyard and stuff. And there, you actually live in a bunk room, and you share bathrooms. You share a lot of things that you share with. It's not maybe meant as much for the working folks that we're trying to attract. It's for people who are there on a shorter term basis.
So this is innovative.
Everyone would love to have their own bathroom. But remember when we grew up, at least in my house, there were 5 of us, and we only had 1 bathroom.
Oh, Crimea River, there were 9 girls in my family, 2 bathrooms.
So we've always shared our bathrooms. Now, there obviously with family members and stuff, but here,
you're right.
So we've always shared our bathrooms. Yeah. So we're going to work hard to see if we can get, full bathrooms in each one of the units. It would be a big plus, I think.
Yeah, it would be nice.
There are a lot of issues associated with that, but we're taking a real close look at it. Here you can see because you don't have the nurses station so close, they had to make the corridor wider because nurses always have their carts and everything. So that's why you see this much wider corridor. And this is the part of the building that will mostly have the studios and 1-bedrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the round part mostly will be for people who are here for shorter term. I mean, the least amount of time they can stay is 60 days, but they can extend that for as long as they want after the initial 60 days. Here, these folks will be more permanent residents.
So minimum 60 days.
For the rooms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
The 1-bedrooms and the studios that we have on this portion. We do have some studios in that portion too, in the round portion, but most of them are here in the newer wing.
You are going to make sure that everyone is income eligible for this. It's
For all the year-round ones.
For all the year-round
Yes.
ones.
And
okay.
there we can't, because you can't income qualify a J1 student that comes over from Europe or wherever they may come from, because
Be impossible.
the income qualified folks, we ask for the last 2 years' tax returns. Well, they live in a different country, they don't have a tax return.
Right.
We ask for the last 8 weeks' pay stubs, they may have that. So for that part, what we've told the ZBA is that we're going to do our best to income qualify people to make sure no one's over 140% of median income. That is a very high income level for a single person. But you know, traveling nurses, which there's a big need for, because of course our hospital goes from serving a population of 35,000 to serving a population of 110,000 in the summer. They need nurses, they need administrators, all those folks. Those nurses make $200 an hour now, because there's such a need for them.
That's right,
So,
yeah.
but we'll hope to serve them, hope to serve all the folks who come down and work at MBO. We're hoping to serve all the folks who work at our restaurants and our hotels, and get them out of the current living conditions that they're in, which is, you know, 5, 6, 7 to a motel room. That we really want to put an end to, and really want to be able to provide them with a nice place that they're happy to come home to every night, not have to worry about whether or not one of the roommates may already have their bed because they got home later, all those things that go along with having overcrowded in a motel room.
You can almost imagine, when you see the nice floor, at least I can, imagine what it would look like.
Yes.
More
Gives you
gussied
an
up,
idea.
you know?
And this has its own, you know, full, so obviously there's a handicap bathroom.
Yeah.
And we will have a number of rooms that will be totally handicapped accessible too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
By law, do you need to, or?
well, by law, they all have to be handicapped adaptable, which means if a handicapped person came in and said, I want that room, you have to make it adaptable to their needs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But we'll have some rooms that are already set up that way with the grab bars and everything that's typically found in a fully handicapped accessible unit. Countertops are down a little bit lower. There's different equipment that you put in them.
How far along do you think you are in this whole process? Would you say you're 80%, or you're superstitious and don't want to say?
Well, you know, we're fortunate now that we have our approval from the ZBA. You can't do anything without having that. You can't, your lenders won't talk to you. You don't have your discretionary approvals. You may not get them. So now that we got that 2 weeks ago, now we're full steam on doing 2 things. One is having our architects work on our construction documents, you know, so that takes a few months in order to put those together. And also very important is putting together all the money in order to build the project.
Funding,
Right,
yeah. And then you pass papers at some point.
Well, no, the way that our purchase is structured, that we have 75 days from the time the ZBA approved the project to close on the acquisition. So our first step is to close on the acquisition. That's a little bit over $4 million. So we have our bank, Eastern Bank, that we work with, that will provide a portion of that. We'll be asking the town to provide a portion of that, and we'll ask our investors to provide a portion of that. So by the end of the summer, we've got to come up with a little bit over $4 million.
End of the summer. And then starting building, and when, ideally, do you see people moving in?
I'd love to move them in tomorrow. I get calls every day, every day. Can you just put some furniture in there? Can you just paint the walls? Can you just, you know, and we could do that, obviously, we could. But that isn't the intent. We do our projects and own them for a very long time and operate them too. And you only get really one opportunity to do it right. So we're going to be spending a lot of money, but we're going to be upgrading this building so it's energy efficient and it's a place for people to live for many, many years to come.
I'll push you again, though. When would you imagine that people could move into this?
I would say that we're looking at sometime in 2025.
2025,
Yeah.
brilliant. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think we'll make next summer, unfortunately. It'll probably be the fall or the winter. And that's if everything falls into place. And who's going to serve, I think they'll change their mind. This will become the communal kitchen and dining area. But this gets double the size that we're standing in right now. And so this will be a place, and also we'll have, well, I'll call them more modern vending machines too. So if you worked all day, if you worked in a restaurant, last thing you want to do is come home and cook. So these vending machines will have fresh sandwiches, salads, more things that are good for you. It's not just candy and cookies and soda and stuff like that. So besides having a full commercial kitchen, which will have, you know, either an 8 or a 12 burner stove and a couple ovens and everything, some refrigeration, and actually we have refrigerator lockers too that you'll have your own key to, a little, you know, locker for refrigeration, but you'll also have a little refrigerator in your room too. I
wondered about that for groceries and things. Yeah. Okay.
You know, people who are single and live by themselves, they don't go to Stop and Shop every day. You know, they sort of get their stuff on the way home sometimes, and so they live a little bit different. So this will be a very active place too, because through that door over there is going to be the co-working space. So there'll be a place where we'll have some computers, we'll have some printers, we'll have a small little conference room, so that, you know, if you live here and you're running a business, you know, we don't want people to always just be in the room.
Right.
You know, we understand they want to sleep there and they want some privacy and everything, but we want to give them the opportunity to do other things outside their rooms.
One interesting thing about Michael Galasso's future community at the Royal is that not everyone living there is likely to have their own car. Assuming full capacity, there simply aren't enough parking spaces for that. And that was one of the key points that kept this project in the discussion phase for so many months. Michael Galasso says that is no big deal. So we're standing here in the parking lot, and this parking lot is going to look a lot different when you're done with it.
Yes, it will. It won't have grass growing through it for one thing. But, so yes, we have 56 spaces for people who have cars. We're trying to discourage people from having cars here, but there will be 56 spaces here. There'll be another 24 next door that we'll be leasing. And so that takes care of people who do have cars. If you don't have a car, which we hope some people won't have their cars, then we have cars here, electric cars that are assigned just to this property that you can rent by the minute. You just get on your app, reserve it, it unlocks the car, it will start the car. You don't have to maintain the car. All you do is just drive it. You can drive it to Stop and Shops to get your groceries, or you can drive it all the way to Boston to pick up your buddies who are flying in from wherever they come from. So beyond that, as you know, we have a lot of our J1 students who come over, and other people are here working here during the summer. They don't have a car, but they ride around on bicycles, so we'll have bicycles for them. And not only will we just give them the bike, but we'll give them a helmet, and we'll make sure they understand all the rules to riding a bike in Falmouth, where they can go, where they can't go, what side of the road they should be on. So they make sure that they're safe. That's very important to us. Beyond that, we have I'm very excited about Volkswagen has come up with a brand new passenger van, an 8-passenger van. It's going to be yellow. It's going to be great. You're going to very notice it. And it can be used to transport you to your place of work within about a 4-mile radius at no charge, and to pick you up too. So,
and it's electric.
And it's electric, 100% electric. Yeah. So there's a theme here you're hearing.
Yeah, I'm hearing it, yeah.
Electric cars, electric bikes, electric van, solar panels on the roof, and also we have public transportation right out front.
So Michael Galasso, this is a huge project. Maybe your biggest, I'm not sure.
Yes, overall, it's real close to being one of the biggest, yeah.
Yeah, what are you most proud of once this gets done?
I'm probably most proud that I'm doing this in my hometown.
Yeah.
You know, more than anything
Which
else.
actually adds a lot of responsibility, right? You
Yeah.
probably feel the pressure of all eyes are on you because this is a new innovative idea.
Well, if you call one of the hearings, a lady who has a house right behind us here was concerned that if there was something going wrong, who to call. I immediately gave her my phone number. I live within 2 minutes. And besides the manager who will be here, you can call me. You know, so I think being here is a big part of it. I did a lot of work out in California. You know, over the years, and I came back when my mom got ill to take care of her, and I wanted to bring that experience because I knew that we had a housing crisis here to my hometown. So I'm hoping it becomes an example of what can be done with old vacant buildings and how we can reuse them.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Well, I'm so glad to have seen this today. Thank you very much, and good luck with this.
Thanks. We need a lot of good luck.
Yeah. Needless to say, after it's complete, Michael Galasso's redeveloped property will no longer be called the Royal Nursing Home. But what will it be called? As of this production, that decision has not yet been made. Got any ideas? If you do, he's not hard to find. We'll keep an eye on how the project is progressing, and we'll keep you in the loop. I'm Eileen Preston. Thanks for watching.